Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So it's been a very long time since I've last done a tier list, and everybody is talking about who Donald Trump is going to pick to be his running mate, because it's very evident that he's not going to pick Mike Pence this time around, who was his running mate for 2016 and 2020. And Donald Trump has kind of hinted at certain individuals, but even he has said that he doesn't really have a clear favorite to who the nominee for vice president is going to be. So I thought in this video I would analyze all of the people that you guys are talking about and possibly people that need to be talked about. And I'm going to put them on a tier list here. We're going to go from the A tier down to the Z tier, because nobody's really S tier in my opinion. Like, I'll be fine with a lot of people that are going to be categorized here, but still the VP, it's a position that's kind of a figurehead. And even though there's a good chance that the VP candidate will run for president in 2028, them being a front runner that's going to be a sustained front runner is not necessarily guaranteed. So without further ado, I think it's important that we start off here and we go down the list and put these individuals from the A tier all the way down to the Z tier, which will have one individual in it. I think some of you guys probably can deduce who that's going to be. But nevertheless, we're going to start off here with Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson is from a swing state. He's from Michigan, even though his residency, I believe, is technically in the state of Virginia. But he's somebody who's very inoffensive, and he's somebody that will kind of be like a ceremonial choice for vice president. I don't think he turns off any voters. I think he unites the party, and he kind of, softens Trump's image because he definitely has a lot more of a softer personality. I will say that maybe the liability here could be the fact that he's a little too soft, but still, if Donald Trump chooses Carson, I think he would be making a great decision. I think Trump Carson would look very good on a bumper sticker, and he possibly could, leverage that to his advantage in the state of Michigan. A lot of people love Ben Carson. He really doesn't have all that much baggage. I don't think he hurts Donald Trump electorally, and he's a very solid option that the base would absolutely love. I'm going to put Ben Carson all the way up in A tier, even if he's not technically going to end up at the top of A tier. He would be a very solid choice for VP nonetheless. So up next, we have Byron Donalds, who I think would be an amazing VP for Donald Trump. The one problem is he's from the state of Florida, and Donald Trump is not showing any signs of changing his residency. I don't think any of these people on the list from Florida would either. So while I like Donalds, I think he would bring a lot to the ticket. He's liked by all wings of the GOP, and he would be a great defender of Donald Trump on that debate stage against Kamala Harris. I do believe that he would be going in the Florida category. If Trump was not from Florida, I think you could make the case that Donalds would be up in the A tier. But as of right now, we're going to keep him in the Florida tier, because you can't have two individuals on the same ticket that are from the same state unless you forfeit those electoral votes via the 12th Amendment. So we're going to put him in the Florida tier. Up next, we have Elise Stefanik, or Stefanik, as some people will say. And I actually think that Elise Stefanik would be a very good VP pick for Donald Trump. And I know that her voting record in Congress is probably close to D tier, if not even below, depending on the vote. But still, she's somebody that is relatively loyal and could also bring in possibly some voters as well. She's also from the state of New York, where if Donald Trump performs adequately in the state of New York for a Republican, which the polls show him doing, what does that mean? It means that he probably holds the House and has a wider majority to work with. And Stefanik is somebody who is high-ranking in the House. I think she would submit to Donald Trump and his agenda and kind of help advance that through Congress. Even though I do believe that her voting record has not been that great, it's improved. And she's not somebody who I think a lot of people would see as like the 2028 frontrunner if she were to be Donald Trump's VP. So I think she would be a decent selection. I'm actually going to put her in the A tier, which I probably would not have done so a few years ago. But just because looking at the big picture here, she helps with electability, she helps with getting his agenda through Congress, her voting record is improving, I don't believe that she would be a bad choice at all, really. So up next, we have Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia. While he is from a state that if he was on the ticket, Trump's chances would probably improve in, I don't believe he's really going to be in play for the VP choice. I really don't. I think he's focused on Virginia. He's not really on Trump's radar. He's not coming out and endorsing Trump like some of these other people on the list have, even if it wasn't originally anticipated by a lot of people. But still, Youngkin, I don't think he would be the worst VP for Trump overall, but I don't believe that he's really going to be in play for the VP spot. So up next, we have Kristi Noem, who is very mediocre overall. I don't believe she's going to be the pick. A lot of people were very high on the odds of Kristi Noem's chances for being VP, but I don't believe it's going to happen nearly as much as I did a few months ago, which I think is a very good thing because Noem, she's an opportunist. She is beholden to the donors. If you look at her entire record in South Dakota, she has supported plenty of, liberal legislation and or rejecting conservative legislation just because her donors don't approve of the legislation. On top of that, she has baggage. There's alleged rumors of certain affairs. You don't want any additional baggage. And honestly, she's somebody that I think is very power hungry and would try to take the spotlight away from Donald Trump. I believe she belongs in the C tier. I don't think she really hurts him all that much electorally. I don't think she helps him either. I think Trump can do a lot better than Kristi Noem. Up next on the list, we have Kari Lake, who was the Republican nominee for the governor of Arizona back in 2022, former news anchor, very popular among the base. She will likely be the Senate nominee for Republicans out of the state of Arizona this year, which is partially why I'm putting her in the not in play category. A lot of people in my comment section say a Trump Lake ticket would be great, even though she's already running for Senate. That's been established. I actually think that she has a lot of positive qualities for a VP. I know she's polarizing. I think if the top of the ticket was more establishmentarian, but at the same time, Lake was kind of an elected official already with experience, I think she'd be a great VP because she's a very intelligent debater. She's very good with the media. And I believe that she would unite the party more under that circumstance. But does she really gain Trump a whole lot of voters? I know she's from a swing state, but even then she's polarizing in that swing state. I hope she gets elected in the Senate race. She'll be a very good senator if she does get elected. But still, because she's running for Senate, she's not really all that in play. Up next, we have Marco Rubio, who I actually don't dislike. He's gotten a lot better over the years. I think he's kind of more in line with Trump's agenda now than he was way back in 2016. But still, once again, from Florida, even if he would make a good VP, still he's not really going to be all that eligible. And it would cause an open Senate seat. And even though Florida's red, you usually don't want that to happen. So up next, you have Marsha Blackburn from the state of Tennessee. I don't think she would be a bad VP choice. I don't know how much on Trump's radar she really is, but still, I'd put her probably in the lower B tier. She's not a bad senator overall. She could try to help Trump's agenda kind of get passed more through Congress because she does have experience, but still, I don't know if she's really on Trump's radar, but I put her in the B tier. She wouldn't be the worst VP option overall. So up next, speaking of not the worst or not the best options that are also in the Senate, you have Tim Scott, the senator from the state of South Carolina. And Tim Scott, he's not really the worst senator overall, but he's definitely far from the best. On criminal justice issues, he's awful. He's basically pro-BLM, and I think he gets overhyped for one reason, and I think we know what that is. If Tim Scott was white, he'd be John Boozman. I mean, I've said that for quite some time. A lot of people have trashed me for it, but it's 100% true. I don't hate Tim Scott, but still, I mean, the guy was out there rejecting Trump judge appointees in the Senate because he said, oh, well, they're not woke enough, basically. And I think that that's a problem. I think it could be a problem if he were to get the VP slot. But electorally speaking, I think he's probably a net benefit. not because of his ethnicity, but just because he kind of does unite certain aspects of the party, could help Trump in that regard, possibly, gain a few independents or whatever. I probably would put him in lower B tier, maybe upper C tier. But still, I don't think he's the worst or the best option. I'll put him in B tier. Up next, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, for one, has kind of flip-flopped all over the place, so much so to the point where she's pissed off both the establishment and, like, the MAGA Trumpian wing, especially given her odd relationship with Kevin McCarthy. And I think she would be a massive liability. I don't think she would help out a lot. I honestly am considering putting her in the not in play category. I don't think she's really all that much on Trump's radar. But because we need somebody to fill the D tier void and because she's on so many shortlist articles, I'm going to put her in D tier. I don't think Trump is going to choose her whatsoever. She would be a massive liability. Yeah, she's from Georgia, but is she even all that liked in Georgia at this point? Probably not. And it's sad because I used to think she was one of our best congresswomen, but still, she's definitely fallen off a cliff in this particular Congress to the point where I don't believe she adds anything other than potential baggage. So, up next, we have none other than former Congressman Lee Zeldin, almost governor of New York, by the way. Lee Zeldin was an electoral powerhouse in New York, a state that Donald Trump would like to add to his column. It's probably too much of a long shot, but I think Zeldin on the ticket would absolutely help, especially down ballot, saving the House once again. Zeldin endorsed Trump. A lot of people expected him not to, and that angered a lot of people on the DeSantis side. A lot of people said he was angling for VP, and maybe he is. But Zeldin would be somebody who I think Trump could use to work his agenda through Congress. And he's also somebody who would add to the ticket electorally speaking. I think he would be a great choice for VP overall. I would probably put him in the A tier in this list right here. Probably just middle of A tier. You could make the case he'd be at the top of A tier actually, but still. Nevertheless, let's move on to Ron DeSantis, who was Donald Trump's main primary opponent before he dropped out. Ran an awful campaign, definitely angered a lot of his own supporters or initial supporters of his governorship down there in Florida. But that's the key word, Florida. Even if Donald Trump wanted to mend fences, put him on the ticket, whatever, it would not work because Ron DeSantis is governor of the state of Florida. Up next, we have Rand Paul, who I like Rand Paul a lot. I mean, some libertarians who might not, be fully fond of every aspect of Trump's presidency might come home. But again, libertarians are not really a very large portion of the electorate whatsoever, to the point where I don't really see what Rand Paul adds to the ticket in terms of the voter base overall, maybe like more younger voters. But I mean, this is the same argument with Vivek Ramaswamy, one could argue. And speaking of Vivek Ramaswamy, I forgot to add him to the list, but I just did right here, right now. So up next, we have Scott Walker, and a lot of people are going to be very confused about why Scott Walker is on this list, and maybe he's just a stand-in, but I've always kind of questioned, maybe Donald Trump's VP is somebody who is not on anybody's radar. Maybe Trump's VP is somebody that he will announce, and a lot of people are going to be like, wait, who? And some people will say that that was kind of the case with Mike Pence, but Pence was floated in the couple weeks before Donald Trump made his selection. Maybe he wasn't fully floated in like the entire few months, but Scott Walker, think about it. He's from Wisconsin. He's not running for Senate. He probably would stand a very good chance at defeating Tammy Baldwin if he did. But the guy was governor there for quite some time, even one before Wisconsin was regarded to be a swing state. And on top of that, he kind of is somebody who's liked by all wings of the party. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's kind of like a wild card long shot. But if Trump came out there and announced that Scott Walker would be his running mate out of nowhere, I probably would not be the most surprised person in the entire world. Honestly, I'm going to put him in B tier or possibly the top of B tier there. And you see that. So up next, we have Tucker Carlson, who I would like to see on the ticket. I don't think he's in play. He doesn't want the position. I'd love Tucker in 2028 to lead the ticket. I think he would be better served at the top of the ticket than being a VP, where the focus is on like the baggage as a VP. But if you're like at the top of the ticket and you're like a celebrity, doesn't exactly matter. I think Trump kind of proved that regarding presidential elections, and you have that individual leading a very large movement there. So up next, we have Tulsi Gabbard, who I like Tulsi Gabbard. She's not a Democrat anymore. It would be like kind of like an olive branch to disaffected individuals out there, kind of like the RFK voter types. They'd probably minimize a lot of those if he put Tulsi on the ticket. She's very good on foreign policy, domestic policy. Yeah, she's kind of a liberal or a flip-flopper on it. Some may say it's a genuine transformation. I think she's a relatively genuine person overall. But still, it is a liability because a lot of the base is kind of torn on her. I'll put her in B tier. She's not the worst choice, but I wouldn't say she's like the best choice either. Up next, you have J.D. Vance. I like J.D. Vance a lot. He's from the Rust Belt. He would possibly help out there. He's not a bad speaker, wouldn't be a bad debater, but he's a freshman senator. He's only been there for 2 years. I don't know if that's enough to warrant him being on the ticket. He'll be a good campaign surrogate across the Rust Belt, I'm sure, but I don't think he's ready to be on the ticket in terms of at the top of the ticket or as a VP. I think in 2028, maybe he will be, but we'll have to see. I'll put him in the middle of B tier. So up next, we have Nikki Haley, who Donald Trump has virtually ruled out, but so many people keep talking about it, and she would be awful. I mean, she would be awful regarding electorally because she would cause a lot of the base to be disillusioned with Donald Trump, and I don't believe she would really add much to the ticket overall because the people that are voting for her in the primary probably would vote for Joe Biden over Trump regardless if she's on the ticket or not, and many would probably just stay home. So overall, Nikki Haley, she's a disaster. If Donald Trump wants to end his presidency prematurely for reasons I'm not going to speak about, she would be his best choice. He's not going to want to do that. Overall, she's going to be going in the Z tier. She's basically running a Liz Cheney tier, like Lincoln Project style campaign against Trump at this point. And if she definitely stays in past her incoming South Carolina defeat, it's going to be absolutely brutal. So up next, we have Vivek Ramaswamy, who will round out this list. And honestly, I like the guy a lot. And he is somebody who doesn't exactly have a whole lot of political experience, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing in terms of him being involved. I think he's going to be a great campaign surrogate. He was a workhorse. I think Vivek is going to be an absolutely epic cabinet secretary somewhere, but I just don't believe he's going to be the VP because Donald Trump is somebody, he loves the spotlight. And Vivek is somebody who also takes the spotlight away a little bit just because he has a lot of charisma, one could say. And I think that's also why Trump probably lobbied Kari Lake to run for Senate too, instead of being like a VP choice, because she also has a lot of charisma. But Donald Trump, he's like the alpha dog. Vivek's also an alpha dog, but he's kind of in training. He'll have his day on the national scene. I'm not saying he gets my endorsement for 2028 per se out of the gate, but if he runs, I'm absolutely going to consider him. He's evolved a lot on the issues, and I think if he's like one of Trump's understudies, he would be a very good 2028 candidate. But still, I'm probably going to put him in lower B tier, maybe even upper C tier, just because of the fact that I don't believe he's going to be chosen. And what does he really add to the ticket is another thing, because some people might say younger voters, but still, is that really enough? Like, I don't know. Do I put him in C tier just to round it out? Possibly I do. I like Vivek a lot. I just don't know if he's really going to add a lot to the ticket, but he's definitely an S tier campaign surrogate for sure. He's an S tier cabinet secretary. But as VP, it's one of those iffy things. So, you know what? We'll put him in B tier. I'll give him his props, but I don't believe, the best choice. So anyways, guys, this is your tier list here from the A tier to the B tier to the C tier to the D tier to the Florida tier, which those individuals won't be chosen, to the not in play tier, where those individuals won't be chosen. Also, Vivek arguably could be in the not in play tier as well, to the Z tier, which is only inhabited by Nimrata Nikki Haley. So Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.